We're back in action, baby. So I'm gonna cover BTC. I'm gonna cover Ethereum. Let's fucking get into it. As usual, quick shout out to the partners on the stream. Prime XBT. Use the link in the description. 25% off your trading fees. Thank you so much to the Prime team. The code is Mayne50, MAYNE50. Link in the description. Please help me pay for ramen. It's hard out here in this fucking market right now, so I need you to press those buttons for me. Looking at the weekly chart, it's not a good look. We had that deviation above all-time high. We had the break in market structure on the weekly. So any sort of major pullback is a pullback to sell. The weekly trend is down now. I look at the weekly, I see these equal lows right here. I find it very hard to believe that these don't get run at some point. I mean, you can even look as far back here, right, where we had those equal lows, we rallied, everyone thought was the bottom was in, and then boom, came down and took them out. I would be very surprised if we don't at some point run these, equal lows here at about 38K. So rallies are for shorting, in my opinion. Question is, where does that rally go? This is the weekly chart. So what does that mean? Well, you could have a rally on the weekly chart that ends up dropping. Like we could have this happen all the way up to here, and then we could, run the lows. I'm not saying it's going to happen in 2 candles, but this is just an example. You could wait to short here, but if we're going to have this big move up, this is a 30% move to the upside. I made a tweet a little while ago, and I said some of my favorite rallies to long were actually in a bear market. I made a ton of money longing these moves and then shorting them back down. So it doesn't mean there's not going to be opportunities to long. If we're going to have a 30% move to the upside, I want to be involved in a long. I'm talking about the weekly trend. When you're dealing with the weekly trend, we're talking about weekly ranges. So there's large price swings that can happen. So even if we're ultimately going to make a lower high, whether it's here or higher, which is my expectation, is that we make a lower high at some point, I'm still interested in playing that up leg on the lower time frames. Keeping in mind that when we come into high time frame resistance, I want to be looking for reasons to short because that is the trend. The trend is to the downside. So I do think that we're going to come and run these lows at some point. How high we go first is the question, but just looking at the weekly chart, I think it's very obvious that until we get back above here, right, this deviation here, the trend is down. I mean, obviously, this is a huge amount of price action here. Lots can happen here, but if we get back above here, we're going much fucking higher, okay? Much fucking higher. So keep that in mind. Now, what are the relevant levels on the weekly? Obviously, we have this kind of 45, 46,000 area here. So this is that weekly bearish order block that sent price to the downside. We also have the mid-range of the range that we're trading in. We also have the yearly open at 46,200. So we have a lot of confluence of levels. That's the yearly open right there, the monthly open being January 1st. We also have this much larger range here, this kind of massive range that we're in. The mid-range is right around there as well. So we have multiple pieces of confluence at this 45 to 46K level. We have 2 separate mid-ranges, the massive range and then the smaller range that we're working in on the daily. We have the weekly bearish order block and the yearly open. So what does that mean to me? It means to me that this is an area that I expect to get tagged at some point or another. This seems like an area where there's a lot of confluence, a lot of price action has happened around here. This was support here. When we broke through, we traded much lower, came down to the level, deviated below, made our all-time high, support, we broke down. So this is an area where I'm looking to short if we get there. So I'm looking to short that area if we get there. What's going to happen before then? I don't fucking know, but we're waiting and seeing. So now we're going to zoom in a little bit here. We went from the weekly, now we're down to the daily. Daily is playing out similarly, right? We had, instead of the deviation above this high, we have a deviation above here. Deviate below, bearish retest, broke market structure, and we're just in a downtrend. This is not chop. This is a downtrend. We've been basically going straight down since we made our all-time high. We made all-time high at 69,000, and then we've been putting in lower highs and lower lows very consistently since then. Obviously, we've had a ton of people calling bottom here as well. This seems like a much more realistic place to potentially bottom. Could we go a little lower? Sure. But now we're coming into areas where price is coming into some support, and the trend is also getting a little weaker. See how aggressive this is? The angle of that. Now the angle of this. Angle is less steep. Generally, what you're going to see is you're going to see the sell-off be aggressive, and then you're going to see the trend start to flatten out. And that's when your bottom forms. When we're aggressively trading down like this, right? You don't want to be trying to call bottom. It's when the trend starts to flatten out right? You're getting that almost falling wedge kind of vibe. That's when a bottom is potentially getting put in, because here we're making aggressive breaks and massive expansion to the downside. When the bottom is formed, right, you're not going to have these huge down body candles. The moves to the downside, yeah, we're making lower lows, but they're just slightly lower lows, right? Yeah, it's a slightly lower low, then the bottom is formed. Same goes for the upside, right? Notice how when we're trending really hard to the upside, that's not when you call top. When do you potentially call top? Okay, yeah, we're making higher highs, but the trend is getting less aggressive, less steep. So that is a potential positive sign for that we might be, coming into a bottom around here. Still too early to tell. I talked about this on our last stream, a move into this level here. I said if we don't hold this consolidation here, I think we see another stab down to this 39,678 level, and we run this wick into this 12-hour bullish order block. Now, I actually ended up getting long on this and closed a bunch of it up here because we start putting in swing failure patterns here. But again, we're at the range low. So what do we want to do at the range low? We want to look for reasons to be bullish. Bullish swing failure pattern into key SR, into demand at the range low. That ended up being a nice long. But now we're right back at that low. If you're a bull, you really want to see another move up from here, right? Because we do not hold the range low now, and this isn't just an SFP of this level, and then we go tag that yearly open, mid-range, weekly bearish order block. Like if this was the bounce, if this was the lower high, we're going much lower. So something you want to be aware of. I know that on some exchanges, first of all, let me collect some clout here. The low on this candle is 39,672. Our level was $4 above that. We bottom ticked it. Obviously, I didn't long that exact level. I don't even trade on Bitfinex, but let me collect the cloud anyways. I'm gonna have my editor chop this up and make it seem like I'm fucking awesome. But I did talk about longing another stab down to this area. I wanted to see this low over here get run. Now, what I do know is that on some exchanges, right, the low did not get run. People ask me why I chart on Bitfinex. It's better to do charting, in my opinion, on spot exchanges. But what you want to do when you're actually trading and you're determining where your entry goes and where your stop goes, you obviously want to use the chart of the exchange you're trading on, right? Because I might put my stop here, but on FTX, that wicks low is actually here, right? So, or on Prime, because that's where I trade. Prime XBT, use the link in the description. Mayne 50 for 25% off your trading fees. And the exchange you should be trading on is Prime XBT, obviously. So I got a nice long here. I tried to long a couple times, got stopped out. I expected this move. We talked about this last stream, and it ran that low, and then we got that bounce. And now are we putting in a higher low? Is this the potential for this to be a low, this to be your high, and this to be a higher low? Possibly. If you pull a fib from here to here, this is right in the OTE. We just closed this daily candle as well as the weekly close as an SFP of that low. So we've got a daily swing failure pattern into the range low after putting in a low and then a potential higher low after making a nice rally. So this could be the bottom for now. I'm not saying the bottom forever, but this could be enough to push us up to here. But the bulls got to catch a bid here. We're seeing some buying. I think we saw a huge close. It's like 1.2K BTC, my friend showed me. That market closed into the low here. Is that profit taking? Who knows? But that's what caused this rally up here. Now, is that enough? Are we going to see this be it and a move to 46 now? That's definitely a possibility. So basically, what I'm watching for on Bitcoin here is if this SFP can hold, I think we're going to see a move up to here. 45, 46,000. If we lose this low here and the range low again, I think we're going to see another stab into this 12-hour order block here. So this 12-hour order block here below this low. And I think we're going to see this low get run on all the exchanges because it wasn't. And we see something like this. So if we only come up to here and then we do this, I think we'll see another stab. I like the 38,500 level. Another stab below here, and then something like a reclaim of this 39,678 level, or a reclaim of the range low would be my two long scenarios. So another stab lower, reclaim this, and then that's the move. I think ultimately we will trade to 45, 46. I think. The question is it from here, or is it going to see one more stab down first? So I'm watching right now. I'm not in a long. I didn't catch this wick. I was setting up for the stream instead. But I do think ultimately we're going to trade here. And again, we have this EQ. We have the massive range EQ. We have the weekly order block and the yearly open here. So this is a big area for me. And if we come up here and start showing weakness, right, I'm going to look to short this thing all the way down to those equal lows If we reclaim this mid-range, if we're able to reclaim this mid-range, I think you long this to 53 plus. So I think that's a pretty straightforward plan for you guys there, all right? We're putting in a potential bottoming structure here. We've come into the lows. We've ran a bunch of lows. We're putting in another SFP into support. Potential higher low here. Pull your fib from here to here, right into your OTE. So lots of confluence for this potentially being the low. If you caught in on one of these wicks, that's awesome. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you need to zoom in. Maybe you want to zoom in and you say, okay, well, where'd we run the low? Okay, well, here's the breaker right here. So what would be the long setup? First thing, we got to get through the breaker. If we get through the breaker, you can buy a retest. You put your stop at the edge of the breaker, target the moon. That would be a very tight stop, but that's technically how you enter. Or you could put your stop at the SFP low, because the lot obviously not nearly as good risk reward there. But the logic is if this SFP was a run on liquidity and now we're going higher, this low should not get violated. So if we come up, retest this, boom, that's your entry, and then you can collect your shekels at the end of it. So we'll wait and see, but this is the kind of low time frame long setup I'd be looking to get into based on that high time frame explanation. Target would be at least here, okay? So still almost a 5-hour trade, even with a loose stop. That would be the kind of setup we're looking for. This area of confluence here with all those things I mentioned, the 2 range EQs, the yearly open, the weekly order block, I'm looking to take profit on longs and potentially look for signs of weakness to short, okay? And if we reclaim this area, I'm looking to long back into the range high and potentially even higher. But ultimately, I'm expecting a lower high on the high time frame. I want to keep that part very clear. You take your fib from here to here. Where's your 382? That's effectively the range high we were just talking about. The 50% is 54,500, which puts you right into this SR as well. Okay, we could come as high as 58, 60, still put in a lower high, and then go down. I am pretty convinced that wherever this rally ends up, and wherever it starts from, maybe it's from here, or maybe it's from where we are right now, that eventually it leads to a lower high with a target of these 2 equal lows. I'd be very surprised if they left these in. I don't know, I could be wrong, but I'd be very surprised if these equal lows don't get run either from here or after a rally to the upside and then there, okay? I eventually think that's going to happen. My thesis for kind of the year is that we probably are going to be ranging between these 2 levels. I think that is a very likely scenario, that we just see a large range between these 2 levels. So maybe it's up, then down, then up. Maybe we run the range lows and then back up. I don't know. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I don't think we go much lower than here. I do think these get run. I don't think we go much lower than this. Could this low get run kind of like this did? Everyone thought the bottom was in, then COVID, boom, ran it, and then went. I don't know. But some sort of big range here I think would be awesome trading opportunity in both directions, and we'll see. But that's kind of my thesis for the year or the foreseeable future. So let's see if this plays out, but I've given you 2 long scenarios, okay? Long scenario 1 is this breaker play, which looks like it's about to break through. If this candle closes through there, we could just market enter. You can market enter or you can wait for a retest. This could play out. I'm also prepared to buy another rip of this low and then either a long on the reclaim or a long on the reclaim of the range low into here. At that 45, 46K level, I'm taking profits on longs. I'm looking to potentially short if I see weakness. Reclaim 45, 46K. I'm looking to long that into 53K plus. Couple other short scenarios I just want to point out on the short term, like the lower time frames here. So we've had a lot of kind of swing failure patterns that have played out very clean SFPs that have just led to price dropping. So what could be surmised from that is if we do have a little bit of a rally here, and if this is super bearish, what we'll likely see is a move up here above some of these highs here. Maybe these ones, maybe this one. I don't know. If we get all the way up here, I think there's a very good chance we're going higher because that's a pretty big SFP that led this move down here. But if we SFP any of these highs, right, and then get preceding price action like this, so SFP, then, break in market structure, then I think that is your short opportunity for a leg down. Or if we just reject any of these levels, whatever, like I said, you just wait for us to get back below the range low. So if we rally up here and then get back below the range low, I think you can short that down to like 38,500. And your short would be there, and you'd be looking for something like this. Like, let's just assume we SFP here Okay, we trade down. You want to see the move above and then back below and the break in market structure. That's your risk. Then you enter on the breakdown. Boom, right? 38,500. So I'm going to get to Ethereum now. So we came into this 3-day order block here. Very nice reaction of that next 3-day candle. And I drew out this SFP on the 12-hour. And we actually have a breaker on the 12-hour with another SFP forming within this 3-day order block. So we have our 12-hour SFP here. What is the breaker? Right here. Within this breaker, we have another SFP that is formed. So much like Bitcoin, like, could ETH go lower? Absolutely. And deeper into this order block and run this low? Absolutely. But if this is a potential bottom here, we also have the order block here capping the range. This is a potential area where price could bottom. You take your fib from your high to your low. Where did that form? Right at the sweet spot, right at the 62% fib there. So you could technically long Ethereum right now, based on this 12-hour setup. The 12-hour candle's closed, so let's assume you enter right now. Your stop goes at the edge of the breaker. My target on Ethereum would be here, 3,700, based on just this 12-hour setup here. It's a 3R trade. You could also put your stop below this low for more protection, because ideally, if this breaker's gonna hold, this low should not get taken. Or you could put your stop below this recent SFP that just closed on the 12-hour and get an even tighter risk reward. Beyond that, you can actually zoom in and you can say, okay, well, just like on Bitcoin here, we have a breaker on the hourly. We have a 3-day order block. We have a 12-hour breaker. We have 2 back-to-back 12-hour SFPs. This breaker here, wait for the hourly candle to close, could be your entry. Same thing here. You enter at the edge of the breaker. Your stop goes either here, super tight, right? We target probably up into these highs, or your stop goes here, looser. But again, we could target as high as 3,700. This is a 12-hour setup. We're just entering on the hourly. So there's a nice potential trade setting up here on Ethereum as well. So that would be the long setup that I'd be watching for. We have this SFP, all happening within a 12-hour breaker, which is formed within the 3-day order block. So that's confluence. Start at the high time frame, work your way down, build your directional bias, and then you zoom in to actually fine tune that entry, exit, stop placement, get the RR that is favorable to you. So this could be a setup here on Ethereum that might play out just like on Bitcoin. Now, what could happen on the short side? We're talking about all the fun stuff for the bulls. Overall, Ethereum does not look good. If you look at the high time frame, just like Bitcoin, we got a lot of work to do to get really bullish on Ethereum again. Deviated above that previous all-time high. We're now well back below it. We also have these highs here, right? So this high, these highs, that order block, that's going to be a potential area for a lower high to form. You pull your fib. Where do you think the fib lines up? Oh, wouldn't you know, right within that order block there is the fib. So if we do see some relief here on Ethereum, if we get up to here, which is 3,800 up to 4130, 3980 being a key level, this would be an area where I'd look for a macro swing short on Ethereum into new lows. Not new lows, but like lower than this low. So high time frame is bearish, but the low time frame is presenting some potential bullish opportunities. Like I said, even if this is going to trade down here, if it trades up here first, why wouldn't I want to participate in some longs on the way up? But just keep in mind, when it does get to resistance, the trend is down, be prepared to short. I do think eventually Bitcoin ends up trading back to like 28 to 32. I do think eventually we could see Ethereum trade all the way back down into this weekly order block here around 2200, 2150 to 2200. Could see something like this, right? And then maybe that's the bottom. I don't fucking know. All right, but the low time frame is giving us some potential reasons to look for bullishness here based on all that shit I just explained. If we come up at all on Ethereum and run these highs and then break back below, I think that's your short opportunity on Ethereum. That would be the move up first, short opportunity. The other short opportunity would be if we lose this swing low. So if we lose this SFP low here that we just put in, I think you look to short Ethereum, stop, like something like that. Okay, but for now, I actually don't hate this little setup that's forming on the hourly and the 12-hour. Again, 3-day order block is support, 12-hour SFP, 12-hour breaker, 12-hour swing failure pattern within that 12-hour breaker, Zoom into the 1 hour. That's your setup. Let's see if it plays out. And this is like a lot of fucking alpha I just explained here. This is exactly how I would enter a fucking trade. I don't know who else shares like their exact fucking logic behind this shit. Learning how I view it and then trying to apply that into your own charts is how you're going to get better, right? It's easy for me to be like, here's your level, you know, long here, stop here. But what's the logic behind it? I gave it to you in that video and I'm giving it to you now. Actual entry techniques, stop placement, profit taking. I don't know who else is doing that. All right. So that is Ethereum. Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Unfortunately, I think my analysis from the last stream was right. I thought we were finally breaking out here. We went above, but then as soon as we broke back in, right? I wanted to see this low hold and then this make a higher high to confirm that this was not a deviation. But I said we are at risk of this becoming a deviation. As you can see, we came up into my key level, rejected. We broke back into the range, and you can see here, broke back into the range, bearish retest, lower low, bearish retest of the range high. I think this probably starts to trade back down toward the mid-range now. We deviated the low, traded to the high. We deviated the high. Maybe we don't go all the way back to the low, but I'm pretty sure this is going to at least go back to the mid-range now. So unfortunate that it turned out that way, but you know, this is kind of what I was expecting after we broke back within the range here. And you can see this is just now straight up bearish price action here. Once we deviated, look where the rejection's happening. Bearish order block, bearish order block, bearish order block. So probably go into this low at least. Unfortunate, but it is what it is, Mayne. Do I use Bybit or FTX? I only trade on Prime XBT, the sponsors of this stream. Use code Mayne50 for a 25% discount on your trading fees and use my link in the description. People who have been screaming at you to buy the dip since November are not just fucking idiots, but they're also fucking broke. If you're wondering where they went, they're in line for the soup kitchen right now. LOL, LMAO. Looking at me shirtless is looking at like a solar eclipse without glasses. I am jacked, but I'm just pasty, pale white. I didn't even see the sun today. It didn't even come out. Not good. We should just honestly send them all the way of Harambe. Just Chad City. Don't want to dox myself while I try and get my fucking tools to work. I just actually went and had a quick seance while I was pissing. I called the Bogdanov bros through a Ouija board and I asked them, is the low of the week in? And they said, pump it, loom dart, up only. I don't know what that means, but it could be good news. Or maybe they said dump it. I don't know. I'm dyslexic. I don't fucking know. Curse of not having a real job. I never know what fucking day it is. Get it fucking right. My dad you're talking about. All right, bro, well, if you get stopped out, you can come live with me. Don't lie to me. Don't fucking gaslight me. I can't commit to one position. If a girl jacks me off onto a dude's face, is that gay? I believe that was Plato or Socrates, one of those really smart guys who said that. I think you're straight, but I think the dude getting the cum on his face, he would be gay, I think. How's that for a fucking answer? I'm on fire today. Don't cancel me for that. Come on. I'm reading what he wrote. I'm not cancel him. I've gone too far with this. I'm so thankful for that trade. I'm willing to let you clap my cheeks all night long, bro. All right. You're uninvited to my house. It's just kind of ugly and I hate it and I just don't even want to look at it. You French son of a bitch. Fuck you. Sorry. Wait, what the fuck? No, I don't know. That got dark. No, my sleep schedule just fucking sucks. Look at the bags under my eyes. Remember, you trying to long the range, the guy she told you not to worry about, longing the uptrend. So, fuck this coin. You know Trader Mayne don't give a fuck about none of that. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit, okay? What really happened?